it's Sarah with Fit Healthy Moms, and I wanted to talk to you today about fats and kind of dispel a little myth about fat making you fat. And I will start by saying that I went through a phase from like the end of high school through college where I tried to eat a totally fat-free diet. This was in the 90s. Fat-free was really cool and hip, and every company had a fat-free version of every product that they made. And what we now know is that fat-free is really not a healthy way of eating. It actually typically means you're eating really processed stuff. Like if you grab a container of fat-free cream cheese and you look at the ingredients, you will not recognize anything on that label. So we know that fat-free usually means that the food is very processed. The other thing about fat is that fat isn't what makes you fat. It's extra calories and extra sugar that makes you fat. So a lot of times foods that have a lot of fat in them are higher in calories, so it's just a matter of knowing what the correct portion size is. In reality, the truth about fat is that fat actually can help you lose weight if you have the right fats in your diet. And the reason that is because fat keeps you full, it keeps you satisfied, it keeps you feeling like you ate something substantial, versus like a fat-free piece of whatever that doesn't really keep you full, your body doesn't know what to do with it, it just doesn't really recognize it as food or nutrition, and then you're feeling hungry more quickly than you otherwise would. So I never ever recommend fat-free diets, and I'll tell you, that like 5 years that I went without peanut butter was miserable. I have peanut butter like every day now, or some sort of nut butter. I have avocados almost every day. I have a decent amount of fat in my diet every single day, and I never look at labels anymore and think, oh, I'm not going to get this because it has too much fat and put it back on the shelf. I used to do that with every single thing I would buy. I mean, I would look at tortilla. I remember looking at tortillas and looking at like 1.5 grams of fat per tortilla versus 0.5 grams of fat and thinking that it really made a difference which ones I bought. It makes no difference. The difference is the quality of the ingredients in the item. So now when I look at something, I look at, oh, this has 3 ingredients and I know what all of them are. Like in a tortilla, for example, maybe some corn, maybe some water, maybe a couple other things. Versus, oh, this has 37 ingredients that I can't pronounce. I know that that's not what I want, even if it has less fat in it. So when it comes to fat and what I have my clients eat for weight loss, and especially what I have moms eat for weight loss, I always make sure there's a significant amount of fat, because fat is really going to help you curb your appetite and keep you feeling satisfied. And with weight loss, that's really important. If you're eating foods that don't make you feel full, you're going to want to eat all the time. So what I talk about with anyone looking for weight loss and looking for keeping weight off is eating the right fats with every meal. In fact, if you look at the food pyramid, the new food pyramid, the little My Plate thing, I don't like it because it doesn't have a place for fats on there, and fats are really, really important. So some of the best sources of fat that you can get in your diet are nuts and nut butter. Yes, they are higher in calories than a lot of other things that you would put on your bread or your whatever you're looking to eat, but they're going to keep you fuller for much longer than a lot of alternatives. So like a piece of whole grain toast with nut butter on it versus a piece of whole grain toast with jam. A piece of toast with jam on it is going to just spike between the bread and the jam. You just have a bunch of sugar going in. But a piece of whole wheat toast with some nut butter on it, that's going to help keep you full. It's going to be some protein, it's going to be some fat, it's going to stick with you a lot longer. So that's really significant. The same thing when it comes to fruit. A lot of times I'll tell my clients, if you're going to have an apple or a banana, have a little bit of nut butter with it because it's going to stick with you longer. I don't know about you, but if I eat just an apple, within about 45 minutes, I have like gnawing in my stomach. Because in addition to it being all sugar, or mostly sugar, it also is fairly acidic, and so it makes me feel very unsatisfied versus feeling satisfied. So I always have a little bit of nut butter if I'm going to have an apple, and that actually keeps me fuller. I can go a couple hours then if I have a little bit of nut butter with it. And there's all sorts of nut butters. Don't feel limited to peanut butter. There's sunflower seed butter, which is great with apples. There's cashew butter. There's walnut butter. There's almond butter, and tons of different kinds of butter. So the probably 2 most popular are peanut butter and almond butter, and those are great choices. Almond butter, of course, we know about omega-3s, and almonds have omega-3s, so almond butter is a really, really healthy option. The next source of fat that's really good for you is cooking oils. So when you're thinking about cooking, of course, everyone, if you're dieting or trying to lose weight, you grab your pan and you spray your pan on your plate or on your skillet. Another way to do that is using a small bit of extra virgin olive oil or a small bit of coconut oil. Those are both good fats for you to get in. And again, it's going to be a little bit of calories. So you want to allot for that if you're really looking at cutting calories. But at the same time, if you just use like a smidge, I mean, sometimes I'll just put like a little bit on a paper towel and wipe the inside of my pan so that it has a little layer of oil in it, but not that my things are swimming in oil. That's going to be a healthy source of fat, and that's also going to keep you fuller for longer because that's what fat does. So just a little bit of oil. And you can do a very small amount. You can also, there's also cooking sprays now that come in olive oil cooking spray or coconut oil spray. So you actually can get a very, very small amount in the way that the can's mist. The next, third healthy fat option is wild fish. And you want to always make sure you're getting wild fish and not farm-raised fish. But wild fish is a great source of fat and a great source of omega-3s. And I've never met a person that became fat from eating good sources of fish and good sources of fat in their proteins. So salmon is a great one, wild salmon. You can get that canned, you can get it frozen, depending on where you live. I live in Seattle, so we get it here all the time just because we live near water. But that's a really exceptional one. The other thing with some of the canned stuff, anchovies is another great one, sardines. So I know some people don't like eating little fishies out of a can, but if you like them, they're an excellent source of healthy fats as well. The third thing for you, one of my favorites that I mentioned earlier, is avocados. So I have avocado every day pretty much. In fact, I get really upset if I go to make my lunch and we don't have any more avocado. So avocado is a great thing, and what I love about avocado is that it gives you that source of fat to feel full, but additionally, you can kind of mash it up and make it kind of creamy. So I actually know a lot of people who use it kind of in place of like a creamy, like in place of sour cream or in place of cheese, because if you blend it up or mash it up, it really does become kind of a creamy substance, and you can use it as a healthy alternative to some of your dairy products. And that leads us right into dairy, which can be a really healthy source of fat depending on how you get your dairy in. Now, dairy is a very highly allergenic food, so if you have any issues with how your body processes dairy, obviously that's not going to be a good means of fat for you. But if you process dairy well, having fat in your dairy is actually a really good thing. I don't encourage people to drink fat-free milk, have fat-free cheese. Even some of the low-fat versions, especially of cheese, are just made of weird things. And so I'd say if you want to have full fat, go for it, but have a much smaller quantity. In fact, I had a conversation with a client about this, about having just like a small portion of yogurt with some nuts and fruit instead of like a whole container of full-fat yogurt, but that'll keep you fuller for longer, especially if you compare it to like some of the yogurts out there that are really low calorie and all artificially sweetened. Those can be just full of junk and full of trash, and they're not going to keep you full for very long, and your body's not going to know how to process them. So a little bit of a higher fat yogurt, especially if you can keep the sugar down, which is hard to do in yogurt, as you've noticed from some of my other videos, but keeping a low sugar but a little bit higher fat yogurt actually can be really good for you. The other thing with dairy, with milks and stuff, especially like if you're looking at coffee, maybe instead of doing grande non-fat coffee drink, you could do a short or tall, so a smaller size, 2% or whole milk drink, which is going to get you that good healthy fat, some protein, so it's really actually a substantial snack versus that coffee that's just going to kind of sit in your stomach and be, again, really highly acidic like coffee is. And I'm one of those people who, when I drink a lot of coffee, I really feel that acid in my stomach. So for me, having some heavier creaminess to my coffee is going to actually give me a sense of feeling a little bit fuller. And I a lot of times actually do that with coconut milk, which is another good healthy source of fat, because I try to lay off the dairy as much as I can. That said, I love my cheese, so I do have some cheese here and there as a high-fat snack, and it's more of a treat because there's not a ton of redeeming qualities in cheese, and I could eat a lot of cheese and those calories add up really quickly. But having those little healthy quantities of those kinds of snack items sometimes are not bad for you. And again, a couple pieces of cheese and crackers or pieces of cheese and celery, that's going to keep you full for a while, much more so than some popcorn with nothing in it, or some fried air or dried air. So again, anytime you're looking at fats, getting in some healthy fats is going to be a really good way to help you stay full. And anytime you can find foods that help you stay full for a while, that's going to really help you in your long-term weight loss. So you don't want to just be wrangling through foods that do nothing to give you nutrients for your body and nothing to fuel your body. You really want to fuel your body to be productive all day, feel good all day, so that you can be on a long-term sustainable weight loss plan, not just going super low calories, starving yourself around the clock, and then falling off the wagon. So there's your healthy fats for the day. If you have any questions, let us know at fithealthymoms.com.